Associated Press, October 3, 2004. On Sunday, Rice acknowledged she was aware of a debate within the intelligence community about whether the tubes were intended for nuclear weapons. I knew that there was a dispute. I actually didn't really know the nature of the dispute, Rice told ABC's This Week program. A New York Times story Sunday quoted 4 CIA officials and a senior administration official as saying that Rice's staff had been told in 2001 that Energy Department experts believed that the tubes were probably intended for small artillery rockets and not nuclear weapons. Rice said she learned of objections by the Energy Department only after making her 2002 comments.
Are we to believe that the National Security Advisor of the United
States was unaware of an intelligence dispute of this magnitude that had been going on for well over a year? One congressional investigator went so far as to call it a holy war. But doesn't it strike you as suspicious that she didn't bother consulting the DOE before serving up images of nuclear detonation? New York Times, October 3, 2004. At the Energy Department, those examining the tubes included scientists who had spent decades designing and working on centrifuges and intelligence officers steeped in the tricky business of tracking the nuclear ambitions of America's enemies. On questions about nuclear centrifuges, this was unambiguously the A-team of the intelligence community. And yet the A-team was toppled by Turner, who was curiously encouraged by the head of the CIA. According to State of War by James Risen, in a meeting with WINPAC, Deputy CIA Director John McLaughlin brought up the Energy Department's skepticism on the tubes. Turner retorted, "No, that's bullshit. There's only one use for them," recalled a former official who attended the meeting. And Tenet says, "Yeah? Great." It seems woefully inadequate that Tenet responded to Turner with such a simplistic acceptance. But like everything else that doesn't stand up to scrutiny in this story, connecting the dots always leads back to the relationships between the key players. Hubris. Tenet had bonded with Bush and became extremely loyal to him. According to A.B. Krongard, the CIA's executive director, it was beyond professional loyalty. Some CIA officers later griped that Tenet had gotten too close to the White House, that he had acted as if he were still a congressional staffer, overly concerned with pleasing his employer, in this case, the president. A cozy relationship with the president was doubly dangerous, given that the CIA was the dominant force in the intelligence community. As the October 3, 2004 New York Times article pointed out, the CIA has a distinct edge, unique access to policymakers, and unique control of intelligence reporting. The Senate Intelligence Report found that's how the CIA got away with isolating its reporting on the tubes.
The CIA would also control the language of the National Intelligence Estimate, NIE for short, painting an illusion of the threat that they invented.
You can't believe everything you read.
So your point is, since you can't believe everything, why bother reading anything?
It wouldn't matter if I told you that I met the Secretary of Defense.
If the issue were a borderline call, vouching for someone might be warranted, but that alone doesn't trump the overwhelming evidence that counters your claim.
But I have a security clearance. I know things that you don't.
Tactical military clearance has no bearing on the origin of the intel. Your well-intentioned motive to stand by your leaders is understandable. To doubt the intel is to question the cause. But as John Adams said in his closing argument in defending the British involved in the Boston Massacre, facts are stubborn things. And whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passion, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. Senator Bob Graham, Washington Post, November 20, 2005. At a Senate Intelligence Committee meeting on September 5, 2002, CIA Director George Tenet was asked what the NIE provided as the rationale for a preemptive war in Iraq. An NIE is the product of the entire intelligence community and its most comprehensive assessment. I was stunned when Tenet said that no NIE had been requested by the White House and that none had been prepared. Invoking our rarely used senatorial authority, I directed the completion of an NIE. Tenet objected, saying that his people were too committed to other assignments. We insisted, and 3 weeks later, the community produced a classified NIE. That the administration was putting the cart before the horse on a matter of this magnitude is incredibly telling, and Tenet's resistance is all the more revealing. For over a year and a half, the CIA was able to control the messaging on the tubes and ignore all dissent. But being forced to deliver an NIE undercut that ability. If the tubes required major modifications, it would seriously undermine the administration's argument for war. So the CIA set out to circumvent that dilemma. Rob Solomon report. CIA's WINPAC sought the assistance of a contractor to perform spin tests on the tubes in order to determine if they were strong enough to withstand the extremely high speeds at which rotors must spin. The initial test performed was reported to have successfully spun a tube at 60,000 revolutions per minute. The NIE explained that the test result provided only a rough indication that the tubes were suitable centrifuge rotors, and that future tests would have to be performed at higher speeds. DOE's standard is to spin a tube at 20% above 90,000 RPM before failure, so 48,000 short is a pretty loose definition of rough indication. And since the entire point of testing should be to replicate the conditions of centrifuges, one would think that the full-blown testing would be done before the NIE was completed. Out of 31 tubes in subsequent testing, only one was successfully spun to 90,000 RPM for 65 minutes, which the CIA seized on as evidence in their favor. One DOE analyst offered a superb analogy of that contorted conclusion. Running your car up to 6,500 RPM does not prove that you can run your car at 6,500 RPM across country. It just doesn't. Your car is not going to make it. In an industry where fractions of a millimeter matter, these guys were playing horseshoes with centrifuge physics, which is illustrated in the following animation.